Hey, it's Bernie Goldbach. We're talking about enhanced podcasts. And according to the small promotion about this, I'm supposed to use lectures to make these podcasts so it has academic standing. This is a recorded session. I need to say that because people who make content and don't share the idea that they're actually sharing the recording can get into a problem. So I tell students, look, you're being recorded, but I mean, you're recorded when you walk out of the parking lot. But it's just out of fairness, just a recorded session. Under law, if one party is aware it's happening, that's good, but like in reality, if students don't know you're recording them, it's a problem. So this is recorded. And previously, what I did to support this session is I made a recording about what I'm about to do, and I posted it up on a website that's called Inside View. I'll answer the question, what are enhanced podcasts, by basically explaining that I'm trying to deconstruct lectures with rich media, but start with an active learning objective. Like I want the students to know what they're learning is important, perhaps by reading or doing, but then I try to close the loop with 360 feedback saying, so what did you read or what was it about? And it's really interesting in that 360 feedback to discover the surface level learning that happened or the depth of understanding that maybe goes beyond the syllabus. And I like that. I create lectures around keyframes. I treat the main points of my lectures as show notes. Footnote on this. Some of my lecture decks are 70 or 80 deep. Since I started doing what I'm about to show you, I've stopped covering all the main points, all the points in the lecture. So I've found out that students are able to go back and dig deep without having me worry about covering everything that I wrote maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Finally, none of this will work for you or for me unless I have a workflow. So like I knew before I started talking today kind of where I wanted to get to, which is a recorded session using Panopto and a backup session. I have a workflow. Okay, what are these things? Enhanced podcast use, this is the old school definition. It's making audio. The audio has images, audio has links. High-end podcasters actually embed inside of their MP3 files premium content, PDFs, or links to show notes. So somebody like Tom Merritt, who does Daily Tech News Show, his stuff, when you download his MP3, it's active. There's stuff inside of it. So in the old school MP3 or the old school enhanced podcasts, Apple had a standard. They implemented it with GarageBand, and you could put stuff in. You could put chapters and sections and stuff like that. That's all gone away now. Other developers are trying to get back to the old school AAC format podcasts, but I'm taking liberties by saying, look, it's basically audio with images and links. So how do you get there and how does someone see it? It's often down to having a personal media player that can see it, an app that can see it, or viewing it in a browser. This stuff it's unfair to a student to tell them you have to have the app or you have to have a high quality MP3 playback device. No, it should be accompanied by low school MP3 if you're going to do this. So I guess basically saying at the end of the day, if what you take away from here is understanding that you can just turn on a mic and talk about something that makes sense and logically has a pedagogically correct and an efficient workflow, you're good. You don't need to do all the other bells and whistles. I'll show you the bells and whistles I do. And you can decide, well, does that work? And the other thing you'll notice is that, geez, Bernie, you actually don't have a lot of them done this academic semester yet. You're right, the semester's not done yet. A whole bunch of work's going to be done and filled in. This is one halfway through the semester. So what I'm trying to say is I'm actually not creating, under the old school definition, standard enhanced podcasts. I am creating audio with rich media fills inside of it. So I'm doing that. But I'm kind of letting the software do it for me. So all I care about is, do I have images? Do I have links? Do I have a logical workflow? And that's where I'm going. Okay, my students take this concept into the classroom. Now that's a big advantage I have. I start off on Moodle and say, look, I need to know you can read the following things, maybe write the following things, comment on the following things, and I want to mic some of it. The get out of jail card is normally, if you can't do it by standing and let me record you, let's do it in conversation, similar to an exit interview you'd have when you were defending a Viva. Okay, well, you can do it one-on-one with me, and I have the time for that. But because I know it won't take more than 15 to 20 minutes per student to do that, and there's normally never more than 10% of my students that want that simple one-on-one time. Some students want to perfect it, so they want more than one-on-one session. You could draw the line under that. I benefit because I have a lot of creatives that are in front of me, and they want to have the ability to do this. So they're leaning forward, and they're trying to have me teach them a way that they can do this on their own. Students know they must talk. It's on Moodle, telling them what percentage of the marks is. Can they speak what they wrote? Can they describe what they made? And if they can't, what we discover is they often copied and pasted what they wrote, and they didn't give attribution to what they made. So that's probably the biggest reason why I like this, because I actually asked someone, that's a really good image. How'd you make it? And, well, I actually got it on images.google.com. Well, whose is it? And there's this blank stare or a sudden pause, and I say, well, you can't use that unless you put attribution to it. This has been a corrosive influence in third level, in my opinion. Lots of people are never challenged about what they're giving up, and we depend on Turnitin to catch them out, where a simple interview will do it. Say, don't submit that. It's not good enough. Keyframes start around, the best keyframes start with something that's on the desk that they're using. If they can hold it, if they've drawn it, if they've made it, it works. And then, even with a biro on a piece of paper, I ask students, can you put down the 3 or 4 main points we're going to cover? Now what's happening, and in this exact room, well actually in room 1A12, what's happened is I've had students say what they're going to say in a 90-second clip to promote something. Without me turning on the recording equipment, they'll nail it, and then the next 5 clips they make, sometimes in Panopto, are all bloopers, but they want them saved. So they're actually, even though they've written it down, and even though they practice it, it sometimes takes a few false starts to get it done. Now, you don't always have time to do that in the academics timetable. So that's why I said the bring your own device thing works really well. You say, look, say it into your device and share it into the space. And I make it easy for them on how to do that. Normally they have 1 or 2 people that have the app loaded, and they sit down and they make the recording. These are show notes that are actually generated on the back of something that's actually been spoken about. So this is about a designer in London who is explaining a book that she makes a book every quarter. She does high-end project management for, she rarely is in a premises that's less than 20 million sterling in value. And she selects new carpet, new lights, new bathroom fittings, and things like that. So she basically talks about how she does this all the way down to the ISBN number, the cover choices, and then the fact that she's going to do it again next quarter. So she's doing books on paints, on lights, on carpet, on textures, and things like that. And she's a designer. So when we listen to her, it makes it easy to tell the student, look, she's talked about all that stuff. She had notes in her head or notes to hand, and that's why it flowed so well. So I sometimes have students break it down after the fact to say, well, what did you actually say? And do the show notes actually back it up? The workflow. This shows a big honkin' mic that we have available next to Trello being used. So the workflow may actually be something else. That might be the 10 items I'm asking someone to do in Moodle. And that's just there on screen. They just talk to it. Or some of the modules I have, I put students on Trello, a little tick-off list of 5 to 7 things to do every 2 weeks, and they just talk about it. And then they get academic credit on the back of that. Okay, I'm at a point now where I'm just going to basically stop, pause, and let Panopto do its thing, because I want to see, would you guys mind playing the game with me and talking about what is an active learning objective? Talk about what do you think a keyframe is, talk about show notes, talk about workflow, or talk about anything else. So I actually want you to hold the gear, say the things, and then behind the scenes while I do the rest of this little presentation, it'll spin up to a server, and you can watch all this thing happen in real time. So I'm pretending now we're in a lecture. We're at a point where the slide change color. Typically they go red or bright yellow. I tell students, you really need to know this. So if you haven't read, haven't been listening, this is an exam question. What does it mean to deconstruct lectures effectively? And let's deal with that. So it's an overhead question for the class. Bang, 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 bang. The devices are passed around. People answer the questions. So I'm going to stop my Panopto right now. Let anybody who wants to listen to it, listen to it. So when we left, we were talking about deconstructing lectures with Spreaker, and we did some things that went up to Spreaker.com by using the Anchor FM app. I use the Anchor app because I start with the learning objectives, talk about the keyframes, do the workflow. It's the same old kind of thing that I spoke about earlier in part 1. Why make audio? Because it's extensible. Jackie Humphreys was asking, can I grab it? Well, if you've put it up in a place like Spreaker.com, or you put it up in a place like Anchor.fm, then if you look behind the page, and this page is showing you Anchor.fm/pen and pixel, there's URLs back here that point to iTunes and point to Google Play. So the provider, a free service, is letting you use plumbing that goes to a place where you can get the MP3 or you can get the WAV file. Social audio extends learning, so this Pen Pixel Create account shows up in iTunes. So if you have the iTunes podcast app and you ask for Pen Pixel Create, theoretically you should download to the, that's what I asked you. I asked you to tap the microphone and I got it to come right on down. If it works right, it's on demand. It comes out through the Alexa app. I have found that using this method of learning, there's a lot of deep learning that happens on the back of it. I also found you don't need Studio for Perfection to do this. It's a bring your own device model that I use. It's an exercise that empowers students to actually create instead of just consume on their own devices. I would recommend, if you're going to do this, find a free recording app that has an RSS feed. Now, you can Google for that, free recording app with RSS feed, and you'll find stuff. In my space, the thing I use is Anchor.fm. I also use Spreaker. There's a free side of that one as well. You can embed the audio anywhere if you have a service such as Spreaker. So what I do is I recorded students doing drone flights yesterday. I made a little clip where I was training them how to take off and land the thing. It's kind of playful because there's a small accident involving landing in a tree. But like, that's fine. We can embed that iframe anywhere and we can play it anywhere. If you set this up and you decide you're going to do this and you want to brand it with a company, LIT, or brand it with a department, or brand it with yourself, you can do that. So like inside of all the major players, there's easy to create vanity audio apps. So you download my app, listen to my courses. That's a possibility. I like the hands-on effect that happens with Spreaker, and I like doing these enhanced podcasts. I'm going to show folks how to look at the content management system behind Spreaker and answer the question that folks are asking. Do you just grade for just spoken content, or do you look for more stuff? So we'll do hands-on using Spreaker.com, logging in using credentials that are shown up on the little whiteboard, and we'll dive into a few of the places that are available. You can see more about this, what we're doing, by checking into where I am. I'm topgold on Good Social Networks. Disclaimers. I've had to buy online storage to make sure I had backups. So there might be a way to use that inside of LIT. I bought Google Drive storage additional, and stuff backs up off my phone. I bought a lapel mic. You can also get lapel mic purchased by a department. It's under €50 to buy that. And I carry around gear in boxes sometimes. But those are the overheads. If the stuff's all positioned in a classroom like Panopto is, you may not have to do all this stuff. I think it's essential to have a microphone. That's why I'm using the one here with Panopto. If you want to stay in touch with me, I'm topgold on Good Social Networks. There's a document, bit.ly/openlit, that opens up as a Word doc. When people use it, I actually see feedback shown up on Office 365 and LIT. So anytime I ask someone in a class to do work, which answers part of the question, do you give people credit just for making the audio? Normally I want to see, have you done something about the audio? So spoken audio about personal decision support system was required, and it was made. And Des made the Word doc that goes with it, and I can give them marks on the back of that. This is where I am on Anchor, if you want to call me there. And this is what I am if you try to find me on Alexa, making, creating, and sharing. Okay, we'll have a look really fast at how this all set up.